Welcome back class to the news of 23rd May from the newspaper The Hindu. And if you are preparing for any government examinations, you can visit our website isby.com or exammap.com, or you can also contact us on our WhatsApp number. So let's start the video. First topic is barge P305. It was a vessel doing work for Oil and Natural Gas Corporation of the coast of Mumbai, and it had broken free of its anchor shortly after midnight on May 16th due to high speed winds and a choppy sea, and the rescue efforts have been underway since May 17 to trace the missing personnel. At least 188 have been rescued so far, and on Thursday, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, that is ONGC, and its contractor of Alphonse Infrastructure, that was doing building work for a state-owned company and had chartered P305. Next topic is notifiable disease. It is any disease that is required by law to be reported to government authorities, and the Coalition of Information allows the authorities to monitor the disease and provides early warning of possible outbreaks. And World Health Organization's International Health Regulation 1969 require disease reporting to WHO in order to help with its global surveillance and advisory role. So what is the significance of notifying these disease? So making a disease legally notifiable by doctors and health professionals allows for the intervention to control the spread of highly infectious disease, and registered medical practitioners need to notify such as disease in a proper form with 3 days, or notify verbally via phone within 24 hours depending on urgency of the situations. And this means every government hospital, private hospital, laboratories and clinics will have to report cases of these disease to the government, and the process helps government keep track and formulate a plan for elimination and control. In less infectious conditions, it improves for information about burden and distribution of disease. So what are the other notified disease till now? Center has notified several diseases such as cholera, diphtheria, encephalitis, leprosy, meningitis, pertussis, plague, tuberculosis, AIDS, hepatitis, measles, yellow fever, malaria, dengue, etc. So what is Epidemic Disease Act? So Epidemic Disease Act enacted by colonial government in India to curb the spread of bubonic plague in erstwhile Bombay. So provisions of 1897 Epidemic Disease Act are: the act, which consists of 4 sections, aims to provide for the better prevention of spread of dangerous epidemic disease, and section 2 of empowers state governments and UTs to make special measures, formulations, regulations for the containing outbreak, and the state may determine in what manner and by whom any expenses incurred shall be defrayed. It also provides penalties for disobeying any regulation or order made under the Act, and it also gives legal protection to the implementing officers acting under the Act. Next topic is Supreme Court Collegium System. So Collegium System was born through 3 judges case, and it is in practice since 1998. It consists of Chief Justice of India. Collegium consists of Chief Justice of India plus 4 most senior judges of Supreme Court for appointment and transfer of judges, and decides on the recommendations for persons to be appointed as Supreme Court and High Court judges. So the Collegium recommends names to the center, and the center also recommends name, and Collegium, after considering names, again sends file to the government If the collegium resends the same name again, then government has to give its assent to the names, but time limit is not fixed to reply. So the evolution and working of collegium system in India is based on the interpretation of the term consultation as mentioned in Article 124 and in Article 217 of the Constitution, and evolved through three judges case. So the first judge's case 1982, in which court held that consultation does not mean concurrence, it only implies exchange of views. And in the second judge's case 1993, court reversed its earlier ruling and changed the meaning of word consultation to concurrence. And then in third judge's case in 1998, court opined that the consultation process to be adopted by Chief Justice of India, which requires consultation of plurality judges. So the sole opinion of Chief Justice of India does not constitute the consultation process. He should consult a collegium of four senior most judges of Supreme Court, and even if two judges give an adverse opinion, he should not send the recommendation to the government. So the court held that the recommendation made by Chief Justice without complying with the norms and requirements of the consultation process are not binding on the government. Next topic is COVID shelf. So it is country's first COVID shelf testing kit. It implies that anyone can collect their own nasal sample and test it for SARS-CoV-2. So it has been developed by MyLab Discovery Solutions, a Pune-based molecular company, and it uses a rapid antigen test in which a nasal swab sample is tested for virus and give results within 15 minutes. So what is the significance of this self-test kits? As per RT-PCR test considered gold standard for COVID-19 testing, but it takes 3 to 4 days to give results, and it delaying hospitalization and treatment. And so that self-test kits potentially be a game changer in the COVID-19 management in India. It can cut quiz and laboratories, reduce cost, and dissipate the burden on existing manpower for sample collection from homes. And it provides quick results, that is within 15 minutes, and leading to prompt treatment and isolation. An easy to use test combines with MyLab's all powered mobile app so that a user can use his or positive status, submit the result to the ICMR directly for traceability, and know what to do next in either result. Next topic is aerosols and droplet transmission. So the two factors about aerosols and droplets are key transmission modes of COVID-19 virus, and while droplets fall within 2 meters from any infected person, aerosols can be carried in the air up to 10 meters. So what is this aerosol transmission? This new mode could be aerosols, tiny liquid particles from the respiratory tract generated when someone exhales, talks, or coughs. They can float in air and can contain live viruses, unlike droplets which do not float but settle down on the ground or any surface in 1 to 2 minutes after exhalation. So when inhaled, these aerosols make everyone vulnerable to virus infection, and confirmed presence of virus in air filters and ducts in hospitals with COVID-19 patients also means that it predominantly transmits in the form of aerosols. So the widespread presence of virus and its ability to spread through aerosols suggests that a lockdown will have minimal to no impact on COVID-19 spread. So what is aerosols? Aerosols are combination of liquid or solid particles which is suspended in gaseous or liquid environment. In the atmosphere, these particles are mainly situated in the low layers of atmosphere, that is less than 1.5 kilometer. Since aerosols sources are located on the terrestrial surfaces. However, certain aerosols can still be found in stratosphere, especially volcanic aerosols ejected into the altitude layers. Droplet transmissions. The droplets spread during sneezing, speaking, and coughing by an infecting person and can spread infections. The infections can also spread by touching the nose and mouth with the hands contaminated with the infectious droplets. So the droplets are so minute that they travel only a short distance before falling, and the people nearby might infectious. Next topic is Next topic is sovereign gold bond. So it is issued by Reserve Bank of India on the behalf of Government of India, and the bonds will be denominated in multiples of gram of gold with basic unit of 1 gram. The tenor of bond will be for a period of 8 years with exist options after 5th year to be exercised on the next indeed payment dates, and the gold bonds will be issued on Government of India stock under Gold Bonds Act 2006. So, and the investors will be compensated at a fixed rate of 2.50% per annum payable semi-annually on the nominal value. Next topic is foul smelling corpse flower. So it is known for its putrid smell, which is often compared to that of rotting flesh, and it is a flowering plant. It is a flowering plant which is native to the rainforest of Sumatra in Indonesia, and the scientific name of the rare plant is Amorphophallus titanum. Quite literally translates to the giant Mesophyne phallus. So the plant is native to Indonesia, but its saplings have been cultivated in zoos, botanical gardens, greenhouses around the world over years. So in about a decade, the corpse flower can grow to be up to 10 feet tall and unveil two of its key components. So the key components are a deep red skirt-like petal known as spathe and the yellow rod-like spadix. The crucial component of the plant is corm, a fleshy underground plant stem which acts as a storage organ where the corpse plant's energy is stored, and the corpse flower is known to be one of the world's largest unbranched inflorescence or a stalk bearing a cluster of flowers, and the plant emits the distinct smell only when it is in bloom, and which happens once every 10 years or so only for a brief period of time. So why is corpse flower so rare? The plant population appears to be dwindling in its native land of Sumatra due to deforestation of corpse and lumber. So it was listed in endangered plant in 2018 by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. It is not easy to preserve the corpse flower outside its natural habitat, so it requires a specific level of heat and humidity to thrive, and the lack of genetic variety leads to inbreeding, which means closely related plants are bred with one another, and the seeds of the plants known as recalcitrant neat seeds are not easy to store either. Next topic is blockchain. So blockchains are a new data structure that is secure, cryptography based and distributed across a network. The technology supports cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and the transfer of any data or digital asset. The spearheaded by Bitcoin, blockchains achieve consensus among distributed nodes, allowing the transfer of digital goods without the needs for the centralized authorization of transaction. And the present blockchain ecosystem is like the early internet, a permissionless innovation environment in which email, World Wide Web, Napster, Skype and Uber will build. How it operates? So the technology allows the transaction to be simultaneously anonymous and secure, peer-to-peer, instant and frictionless. So it does this by distributing trust from powerful intermediaries to a large global network, and which through a mass collaboration, clever code and cryptography enables a tamper-proof public ledger of every transaction that's ever happened on the network. A block is the current part of blockchain which records some or all of the recent transactions, and once completed goes into the blockchain and permanent databases. So each time a block gets completed, a new block is generated. Blocks are linked to each other by a chain in a proper linear chronicle order, with every block containing a hash of previous block. So the benefits: as a public ledger system, blockchain records and validate every transaction, and all the transactions made are authorized by the miners, which makes the transaction immutable and prevent it from the threat of hacking. And blockchain technology discards the need of any third party, and it allows decentralization of technology. Next topic is National Archives of India. It is a custodian of the records of enduring value of Government of India under Ministry of Culture, and was established on 11th March 1891 at Kolkata. As the Imperial Record Department is the biggest archival repository in the South Asia, and it has a corpus of records such as public records, private papers, oriental records, cartographic records, microfilms, which constitute an invaluable source of information for scholars, administrators, and users of archives. The holdings in the National Archives in a regular series starting from year 1748 and has a 40 kilometers of shelf space. The Director General of Archives heading the department has been given mandate for the implementation of Public Records Act 1993 and the rules made there under Public Records Rules 1997 for the management, administration and preservation of public records. Next topic is iceberg A76. It is a world's largest iceberg which breaks off in Antarctica as glaciers retreat. It is 170 km long and 25 km wide. The iceberg was spotted by a European Space Agency satellite called it Copernicus Sentinel, and it is a two-satellite constellation that orbits the Earth's pole. The iceberg is floating on the Weddell Sea. Weddell Sea is a large bay in the western Antarctica. So it is a important point for UPLC also. Weddell Sea, where is Weddell Sea is located? It is located in the western Antarctica, and the satellites confirmed the observation made by British Antarctica Survey, and it was the first to notice the breakaway impact of iceberg on sea level, that every time an iceberg carves out from Antarctica and it adds up to the rising sea levels. However, in this case the ice shelf from which this berg carved out was already floating in water, and ice shelf from which A76 carved out is called Ronne Ice Shelf. INS Rajput. Next topic. It is first destroyer of Indian Navy, commissioned in 1990, and it is a lead ship of Kashin class destroyers built by erstwhile USSR. It was constructed in the 61 Communards shipyard in Nikolaev under her original Russian name Nadezhny, meaning hope, and the ship had the motto Raj Karega Rajput, and participated in several operations aimed at keeping the nation secure, and the operations include Operation Aman of Sri Lanka to assist IPKF, Operation Pavan for patrolling duties of the coast of Sri Lanka, Operation Cactus to resolve hostage situation of the Maldives, and Operation Crow's Nest of Lakshadweep. So you can learn which operation relates to which country, and it was also the first Indian naval ship to affiliated with an Indian Army regiment, that is Rajput Regiment. Next topic is World Bee Day. It has been set up for quality testing of honey and other products of beekeeping under National Beekeeping and Honey Mission, and 300 crore has been approved for the approval overall promotion for National Beekeeping Honey Mission, and development of scientific beekeeping and achieving the target of sweet revolution. Besides, 500 crore has been allocated to National Beekeeping and Honey Mission by the Center under Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign, and a world-class state-of-art art honey testing lab has been established at National Dairy Development Board Anand with the help of 5 crore, and United Nations has designated 20th May as World Bee Day, and the fourth observance of World Bee Day was celebrated by FAO on 20th May 2021 under Be Engaged, Build Back Better for Bees. Next topic is National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. So NCPR set up in March 2007 under the Protection of Child Rights Act 2005. It works under the administrative control of Ministry of Women and Child, and the child is defined as a person in the 0 to 18 years age group, and the commission's mandate is to ensure that all laws, policies, programs, administrative mechanisms are in a consonance with the child rights perspective as enshrined in the Constitution of India and also United Nations Convention on the Rights of Child. Under the RTE Act 2009, the NCPR can inquire into complaints about violation of law, summon an individual and demand evidence, seek a magisterial inquiry, file a writ petition in the High Court or Supreme Court, approach the government concerned for the prosecution of offender, and recommend interim relief to those affected. So the composition for NCPER is it has a chairperson and 6 members for each. At least 2 should be women, and all of them appointed by central government for 3 years. And the maximum age to serve commission is 65 years for chairman and 60 years for members. Next topic is export of buffalo meat. So top Indian buffalo meat importing countries are Hong Kong, Vietnam, Malaysia, Egypt, Indonesia, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Philippines, UAE. The buffalo meat is prepared and exported in accordance with OIE guidelines for any risk mitigation, and only boneless buffalo meat is allowed for export from India, which is safe and risk free. And there have been several interventions by Government of India to control and eradicate various livestock disease, and the launching of National Animal Disease Control Program in June 2019 to control foot and mouth disease and brucellosis by 2025, with vaccination and eradication of disease by 2030, is one of the flagship program of Government of India. So the international organizations such as OIE, WHO, FAO have issued guidelines which categorically mention that it is highly unlikely that people can contact COVID-19 from food or food packaging. So Agricultural Processed Food Products Export Development Authority APEDA was established by Government of India under Agriculture Processed Food Products Export Development Authority Act 1985, and this authority replaced Processed Food Export Promotion Council. APEDA under Ministry of Commerce and Industries promotes export of agricultural and processed foods from India, and it is mandated with responsibility of export promotion and development of following scheduled products. So thank you class.